Hello everyone, my name is Luke. Thank you for clicking on one of my videos. Today we are talking about Anno 1404. Gameplay and story spoilers will follow, and I as ever recommend that you play the game before you continue any further, and to make sure I am being fair in what I'm about to talk about. Let's get started. Anno 1404 is easy to grasp, the slightly opaque tutorializing aside. It looks pretty, definitely has a charm to it, the music is great, and it's really just a nice place to be. The world you build is evergreen, the crops are always bountiful, and your disgusting serfs keep their mouths shut so long as you throw enough trout and old Rosie in their direction. The art style contributes a heck of a lot to the feeling I have when I boot the game that I'm going into a world, through my computer screen and away from the world I'm sitting in. The filthy hovels, little orchards, stone mines, trading ships with their fluttering sails, they're all visualised just an inch to the right of photorealism. It's like finding a happy, welcoming universe full of perpetual summer, and where people will kind of just leave you alone if you want them to. But the more I played the game, the greater my feeling that something was off. The rosy red apples in my picturesque orchards were riddled with wriggling caterpillars. One of my stone mines collapsed, trapping all souls below the earth's cold embrace. A trading ship was eaten by a kraken. Slowly I learned that the universe in Anno 1404 is terrifying, all because it is literally yours. Some context. Anno 1404 was developed by Related Designs and released in June of 2009. It is the fourth in the Anno series and situates itself within a grand history of historical city building simulators. SimCity, Caesar, Civilization. Unlike its more famous peers, the 3 Cs I call them, however, the Anno games differentiate themselves more in terms of theme than by any specific mechanical features. The first game in the series, Anno 1602 AD, situated itself within the context of the expansion and colonisation that characterised Western history in the early 17th century, for instance. 1404 is set 200 years before its predecessor and concerns itself with late medieval and early Renaissance themes. The Crusades form the background to the game's main story arc and sets up the central dichotomy of 1404, that of the Occident and the Orient. There are 3 main game modes to choose from: main story, scenarios, and continuous game. The main story forms an introduction to the themes and mechanics with which you will be engaging for the easily hundreds of hours possible to sink into this game. There are characters who give you quests and tips. Successfully completing enough of these quests advances the game's story. Scenarios provide the player with objectives and dumps you into the world with nothing more than a ship and a handful of timber and tools with which to begin to build your great metropolis. Continuous game works essentially the same as scenarios, except the player can customize everything, from the size of the map to the fertility of the land to the number of AI players, etc. Whichever mode you choose, however, the player is the colonizer sent into the world. This is where the problems begin. Implicitly white, gifted with a sturdy ship and just a whole heap of entitlement, the player sails about pretty much at their leisure. Which patch of Earth shall I make mine full time is no doubt the thought that crosses their mind as they meander lazily through the endless summer of 1404. Most of the land is unoccupied, helpful icons providing information as to what crops may be grown where. Some, however, have been previously settled by any of the other AI players, and even fewer have unique settlements, monasteries, trading outposts, archaeological digs, etc. While the former may need to be avoided early on, the latter are instrumental in establishing your first toehold on whatever scrap of land takes your fancy. While Anno may be set in a pre-capitalist age, this does not mean that the people that you encounter as you slowly spread your influence over the land are unopposed to seizing a business opportunity when they notice one. Your gold is exchanged for the raw materials you need at these early points in the game, with the land on which this trade takes place being an implicit part of the deal. For 1404, expansion of any kind is the end goal, one that is celebrated mechanically and narratively. The drive for more land, more resources, more money, lots more money, sooner or later, ideally sooner, drives the player further afield in search of the Orient. It is a search born as with everything else from a desire for more. Peasants are the first form of settlers that flock to your budding city, but as their desires for food, drink and religion are sated, they are upgraded to citizens who come with their own desires as well as an aesthetic change in your city as a whole. The filthy hovels of peasantry are replaced by slightly comfier looking homes, while their tastes diversify. Raw fish suddenly isn't enough for these ingrates, they want spicy raw fish now. And clothes, and they want me to get it all. Who is working for who in this world? Spice is the first driver toward exploration of the world and settling of the Orient. Head south and the land changes. The lush verdant green of the west is replaced with the blown sand dunes of the east, with a corresponding change in architecture, soundtrack and crucially raw materials. Building a warehouse on an uninhabited island claims the land for your burgeoning empire, and the locals are really just over the moon with this. I mean, finders keepers, am I right? You can only build a certain number of buildings associated with the nomadic peoples that live in these lands, however. Build enough tents for the indigenous population of the Orient and they will flock to your cities, thanking their lucky stars that someone so blessed as to be from the Occident should choose their sorry scrap of dirt to claim as their own. If you want to start harvesting the spice, milk, quartz, gold and silk that are only available in these lands, you have to ingratiate yourself with the Grand Vizier, purchasing the rights to construct these buildings using a special currency called Anno. Anno is earned from various actions as your particular brand of early capitalism sweeps the land. Hit certain milestones as you grow your city, complete various tasks for the other NPCs. Earning a rep with your western peers provides you with a cultural capital that serves as a currency with the east. The spices you grow are sent to your settlements in the north in order to develop your citizenry. The excess is sold back to the locals or to your competing players at a great margin. And I mean, the margins really are great. They're huge. If I'm going to make one point here about the mechanics of 1404 and specifically the way that they are tutorialized, it would be to say that it is pretty messily explained. Let me break it down for you. It goes a little bit like this. You can set up your trade routes in 1404 in two ways, manually and automatically. The manual approach works by you building a trading ship, going to the strategic map, clicking on one of your home settlements, clicking the plus icon to indicate what goods are loaded onto your ship, then clicking on the destination settlement, clicking the minus icon to indicate what goods are loaded off your ship. You then assign your little trading ship to this trade route and off it goes. The automatic route, you just indicate at each of your settlement warehouses what you want to trade. Making an excess of tools, just put up 20 tons of them for sale. Too much stone? Click, and it's gone. The first method has maybe 10 clicks, the second has like 3, and you don't need to waste a precious trade vessel while you're doing it. Functionally speaking, the effect is the same. My real issue with this system is that your erstwhile competitors will always buy your stuff. It doesn't matter what their power is relative to yours, it doesn't matter that their warehouses might be stuffed to the brim with every possible resource that they could possibly need, they will always buy from you. There is one way which the manual method of utilising trade routes is useful, and that is in moving goods and resources between your own settlements, which are often spread all over the map. Doing this by hand is very time consuming and crucially distracts from your other chores, I mean city management tasks. Assigning a ship to transport your rare goods from your oriental outposts to your occidental cities is crucial to encouraging patrons who bring with them their own needs, but crucially cold hard cash which you can then tax. Tax comes from your ever-increasing population. There are 4 levels of settlers that come to your cities. The disgusting peasantry come first. As noted, their needs are fairly reliably plebeian. Food, our old friend raw fish, drink in the form of cider because you've got to give the proles something to look forward to at the end of the day, and God, because they also need to have something to believe in, some golden upland that they can hope to ascend to once they've croaked their last after decades of back-breaking labour in your lumber yards. The next level is citizens. Their needs build on those of the peasantry from which they recently evolved. Spices are a necessity as well as linen clothing to hide their hideous bodies. Entertainment in the form of a tavern is the final new requirement, as drinking cider at home just doesn't cut it anymore for these ingrates. They need wenches and back alleys to vomit in before they have any hope of moving on to the third level. Patricians and nobles follow respectively with even more needs and even higher amounts of taxable income. I wish I could speak more about them, but I haven't got far enough into the game at this point. No doubt their demands increase exponentially, forcing you as the player to seek farther and wider for land to colonise. More land, more raw materials means more goods to satisfy the needs of your growing population, who fuel the need for more land with their increasing desires, and so the gameplay loop of Anno 1404 goes on forever. And it really can be forever, or as near to forever as you're prepared to get, depending on the victory conditions of the particular scenario you are playing, certainly if you have stipulated those conditions yourself. 1404 continues on the great tradition of the genre, following the footsteps of arguably deeper, more demanding games like SimCity and Caesar 3 that I referred to earlier. And I don't mean this mechanically though, in terms of the amount of conflicting gameplay ideas and tasks that you have to juggle. 1404 really doesn't hold much of a candle to the classics. Thematically, 1404 is just as shallow. The world remains forever bountiful, albeit at a small cost if you run out of nearby trees to chop down or iron ore to gouge from the earth. The oceans will never be empty of fish, the arid sands of the Orient will always be available for irrigation. Where the landscape changes in response to the player's traversal across the world and other city builders, 1404 never punishes the player for their choices. The world of 1404 was made for the player, a vast, almost literal sandbox moulded to work with the player in facilitating their every need. And this for me is ultimately why I probably won't play any more of the game, because it isn't designed in such a way for me to engage with. It is designed for literally any player to engage with. The open-ended aesthetic, like the rest of the game, is paper thin, but it is a sheet of paper as wide as the oceans. Thanks for watching. Hi guys, thanks for watching to the end. I think I'm going to stop doing these post-credit little shout-out bits and try to sprinkle the content throughout the video instead of dumping it all at the end. So maybe for the last time I've had my chance to talk, now it's your turn. Am I being too hard on Anno? I'm probably being too hard, right? I'd also be interested in hearing your thoughts about the structure of my videos, as I'm getting feedback that I am taking too long to actually get the video going, waffling for too long in the introduction, so I'm trying to change that too. Please do leave a comment, engage with me on Twitter, make your own video in response to mine. Until next time, always ask yourself why.